You are now listening to Conscientization 101, an online magazine combining reflection, music, and action through independent media.
It's very important to be with conscious African women and men. And I'm very excited to see Conscientization 101, to see Sister Zari there and the brother James, and to see that you have started an organization to conscientize the world, especially African people, about what's really going on in this world.
Conscientization 101.
A lot of these people right now in this conscious, so-called conscious movement, they're not actually living in that lifestyle.
Fakers.
That's why, obviously yourself, we're on the same sort of frequency. That's why you're listening to the same things I'm listening to, because we're sharing that same sort of thought. We want the same sort of things, and a lot of people don't want the same sort of things. Even yourself, what you're doing now is for the people. So everything is people-based.
Globally conscientizing.
What's making me proud of what this kind of connection here is that, no matter what is said, no matter what is done, you leave listening to our music with a feeling. The same way we're going to leave this conversation with a feeling. And that is the most important thing for I and I, the vibe and the energy and the feeling that you leave with, because you might not remember every lyric, but you're going to remember the feeling. So that's really important, and that's what I'm getting from what you're doing.
Let's get to work, because there's a lot of work to be done. We have had Black Studies programs more than a generation now. They have done Black Studies, and maybe that's the best criticism that can be made of them. They have not done African history as it relates to the history of the world. The subject I'm going to be talking about, the African Holocaust, cannot be seen out of context with the great Holocaust of history that relates to the whole world. An event happened in Europe called the Holocaust, indicating that this was the only one. This was an event between European and European. It was motivated in Europe by Europeans. European racism had spent itself outside of Europe. Within Europe, it turned inward on itself. Europe became the victim of an act that they had used to victimize other people. One of the main reasons you have been propagandized in giving this European matter so much attention that it happened to a people who are the masters of propaganda, and the masters are the politics of victimship. You are the greater victim, but you never mastered the technique of getting across your victimship. And you never found many issues in which all of you could come together on. And you never found many bridges that all of you could stand on and be united on. many times you use your oppressor's excuse for separating yourself one against the other, as though there has been a separate oppression for different ones of us. Nobody came to America on separate slave ships. The same slave ship that left Africa and put some people down on an island called Jamaica and they became Jamaicans, put some down at an island called Trinidad and they became Trinidadians, and came over to a colony that would later be the United States, and they became Americans. No Americans left Africa. No Trinidadians left Africa. No high yellows, no low yellows. No deltas, no AKA. No crack addicts. No homosexuals. Away from Africa, you were transformed into something you never would have been had you been left in Africa. You took the attitudes of your oppressor and began to separate yourself from other Africans who were put down at different places and suffered a variation of the same experience. And because we could not come together as one, we have fought the longest revolutions of any people in the history of the world.
Marcus told us to look into the whirlwind. This one now, cyclonus rhythm. See? Greetings from the Crown region, the original region they call the Garden of Eden since Mama Earth, her first heart beating like the talking drum speaking. Knowledge and wisdom for everyone seeking understanding, no true meaning, the land of the darker people. Every last human being before the North Korean and even the European were born to receive the teaching underneath the shade of the big fig tree. Them to speak it or just repeat it. We study 360 degrees and reach this completion season after season before Abraham and Esau over the northern eastern, nor Muhammad and Khadijah. We were farming, harvest, eating at the crossroad where ancestors gathered for meetings. Arts, craft upon rediscoverification for healers, deep philosophies we're dealing underneath the tree of knowledge in the Garden of Eden. So far away until the Most High I pray. Day after day, Marcus Garvey say repatriate. Open the history book, flip back chapters and pages. Before the Renaissance and what they call the Dark Ages. Before the adders trapped inside the cages of our mind. And all these ratchet savages were sages. Mastered every mathematic equation and astrology. That's how we mapped our celebrations, revolving around all the last occasions. Equally shared, there's no place here for the craven. Baking the meaning, as naked as an Eden in the same place where the Most High made a haven before any invaders. Legion after legion, the snake with the temptation created civilization from the cradle, demonstrated by our behavior and the way we treated a neighbor. A favor for a favor, each one teach one, cause we were waiting for a savior. Perfectly balanced with Mama Nature by our creator. So far away. Ribbidi bibbidi bang skeng, to the Most High I pray. Day after day. Marcus Garvey say repatriate, barter exchange, back to bargaining and trading. Paper money's toilet paper if the stock market starts failing. Take a trade, start training, always stay in human nature. Telepathic communication for the youths and the aged. The community is sacred. Negus, Nagasa, Lion, the Judah, Rita, David. Sheba, she's the queen over the Candaces. From our cable on, and we're still trotting through the ages. Never planned for the future with the stat like Mansa Musa. And kept the quality that's in your Apple Mac computer. All the blood diamonds at your Jewish jeweler. Nubians used to be shining like Slick Rick the ruler. Heard Africa was rich, true, it's not a rumor. But they turned all the blacks around the world into consumers. Time to control resources, turn back into producers. Don't lose it into this Babylon, it's merely an illusion. See? So far away. Unto the Most High Jah I pray. Day after day, day. Marcus Garvey say, Rags.
Welcome to another episode of Conscientization 101 Podcast.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Conscientization 101 Podcast. Yeah. I'm your host, senior editor, James Stone, for this episode. My co-host and co-editor, Zari, is actually... she's in the studio. She's actually hitting on the buttons right now. So she's here, but I'm on the microphone right now. So she's controlling it all. Everything I say, she can pull the proverbial plug. Anyway, yeah, so it's good to be back with you, and we want to apologize for such a long interlude between the last episode with our dear brother Raggo Zulu Rebel. That's why we had to play a little bit of Raggo up top. You heard that Garden of Africa, produced by our main man, Cyclonius, the natural disaster. Yeah. All right. But, stuff happens. That's how stuff happens. And we got a little busy and stuff was going down. But, hey, we're back. Not to bore you with all the details, but we're back. And so what we want to do right now is to set up and jump into this part 2 of this dialogue. Because as you hear from the background from our dear beloved Baba Fela, we want you to understand something. Confusion breaky bones. And we never spread them confusion amongst our people. Now ain't that right? Now, as you know from the previous episode, this particular dialogue, Raggo Zulu Rebel Emeritus, the Eloquence of a Scribe, took place on September 4th, 2021, And we went for over 3 hours. So we had to break this dialogue up into 2 parts, and you're about to hear excerpts from part 2. And you know, as always, we will let you know how to get the unabridged interview at the end of the show. All right, so in part 2 of Raggo Zulu Rebel Emeritus, the Eloquence of a Scribe, we discussed the following with our dear brother, Raggo Zulu Rebel. An in-depth analysis of Raggo's album, Necromancy. The importance of understanding political economy, specifically understanding the superstructure as it pertains to Africanity, Blackness in Western societies. The comfort in the malaise and isolation people experience due to social media and how that relates to Guy Du Bois, the Society of the Spectacle. A critical critique of hashtag movements and much, much more. Yeah. All right, so we're almost ready to get into part 2 of Raggo Zulu Rebel Emeritus, the Eloquence of a Scribe. But first, I wanted to go ahead and explain a little something for continuity's sake. Now, like we've said before, you heard part 1, we always talk about how prolific Raggo Zulu Rebel is. Our dear brother Raggo Zulu Rebel is hella prolific, hella insightful, and all that. And you heard that just from the track at the top I just mentioned earlier, The Garden of Africa. It's just a single, and it was produced by Cyclonius, the natural disaster of the dear brother. And by the way, we added that commentary from Dr. John Henry Clark in there, okay? So, you know, this brother's always dropping singles. I told y'all he got like 2.5 billion trillion tracks. So even though he is retiring, his catalog, you know, is gonna last until the next lifetime, until the next lifetime, until the next lifetime, okay? I'm saying all that to say this. So you know this interview took place September 4th, 2021, all right? His latest project at the time was Necromancy, okay? Now, since then, okay, he's released another album. And he assures us, and he told me, and he told everybody else he got one more after this last one that came out on December 31st, 2021, okay? It's called The Chronicles of Jah Messenger, okay? That's what this latest album that was released December 31st, 2021 came out was called. And we have that too. Don't worry. We're going to link to that. We're going to link to Garden of Africa so you can pick up this brother's catalog. Don't worry. But I'm telling you all this to say, you're like, why is you going into this? Okay, we're going to get that album. But why are you explaining? I'm explaining that because as you just heard, what we're going to be discussing in part 2, we're going to be talking about necromancy. Well, one of the tracks that, if you remember, you heard in part 1, right, was called Lonely People, okay? It's called Lonely People. You heard that in part 1 of Raggo Zulu Rebel Emeritus, the Eloquence of a Scribe. Now, since we already played that track, right, and this part 2, we're going to be going an in-depth analysis of necromancy, we get to talking about the track Lonely People. But in his latest album as of this recording, let me put an asterisk on that. As of this recording, The Chronicles of Jah Messenger, he actually has a track that we consider to be kind of like Lonely People Part 2. It's called Where You're Going. So I just want to make that clear, so when you hear us talking about Lonely People, the track, remember you heard it in part 1, the previous episode, okay? And so we're going to be featuring Where You're Going from the latest album as of this recording, The Chronicles of Jah Messenger, because it's like a part 2 of Lonely People and it relates. So when you hear us talking about Lonely People, you're going to say, why are you playing Lonely People? Oh yeah, they played that in part 1. So I just wanted to be clear. Don't want to confuse anybody because we want to make sure everything is clear so that you won't be like, how will I be able to obtain this great, phenomenal work from Raggo Zulu Rebel? And you'll be like, oh, okay, I see why they put Where You Going in here and they was talking about Lonely People. They not retarded because we're not, okay? Confusing breaking bones. All right, now we got that out the way. I still got some more set up before we get into the episode, okay? Hold up, just 1 second. We about to get there, but I got to set this up right now. All right, so in part 2, we're talking to our dear brother Raggo Zulu Rebel. And whenever you talk to Raggo Zulu Rebel, whenever I talk to him when we were doing an interview, when I talk to him offline, when it's just me talking, we chopping it up like brothers do. The brother's very insightful, okay? And I had to edit this interview, Zari and myself. Isn't that right, Zari? She just said yes. Okay. So we had to edit the interview, but as I was editing the interview, man, just always talk. I've talked to Raggo about this, okay? We've talked, then I go back, I go over the stuff I'm reading, my life experience, then we chop it up a little bit later and we'll be like, man, I didn't think of it like that. Remember that time we was talking about this and this happened like this? Okay, this is the same thing with this interview. That's why we're not like everybody else who just tries to throw shit out there. Yeah, consume. It doesn't matter if it's good, the quality's good. If it's clipping, you know what clipping means? If it's clipping, it doesn't matter. Just get it out there. All the garbage you can fucking eat. Yeah. Because like we said, confusion break your bones. We don't want no confusion. So it might take us a little while to get the accuracy out there because we don't want no confusion to break your bones. No wahala. Okay? So like I said, so while I was editing this, listening, the dialogue, we had a synthesis. Zari, James, Raggo Zulu Rebel had a synthesis, and it made me think of some stuff. You're going to hear it, so I want you to think about what I'm about to read to you. Put this on your mind before you go into the excerpts from this interview, and you're definitely going to want to get the full unabridged interview, okay? As well as our dear brother's catalog. But I want you to think of something. It made me reflecto, right, on something Paulo Freire says in the Pedagogy of the Oppressed. And it goes a little something like this. If men and women are searchers and their ontological vocation is humanization, sooner or later, they may perceive the contradiction in which banking education seeks to maintain them and then engage themselves in the struggle for their liberation. Page 75, The Pedagogy of the Oppressed by Paulo Freire. See, we're not about that banking theory of education. That's what the dominant paradigm, the construct, this Western imposition that we live under, and are subjugated by, lives this banking theory style of education where you don't know anything, the teacher knows everything, and by virtue of having authority, they want to make that synonymous with knowledge. So when you say, you question the teacher, you say, teacher, don't teach me no nonsense, right? Then you're not only bucking authority, but the way they want to set it up is that you're actually bucking knowledge. See, they want to make knowledge and authority synonymous. So might makes right? So because somebody got all the nuclear weapons and stuff like that, that means, oh, they must be smart. It's just like when you hear motherfuckers say, oh, well, that motherfucker rich. Okay, so that motherfucker is smart because they rich. Same type of logic, banking theory and education. So Paulo says we want to challenge that. We challenge that here on this show. That's what we're all about, okay? Now, and I want you to think about some of the stuff we're about to read because this is the type of synthesis we come to on Conscientization 101 podcast. This is the type of people we have on like Raggo Zulu Rebel and others, okay? Now, in line with the polemics of the last episode and this episode, hell, Conscientization 101 period, we felt you would derive a particular value if we read a few quotes, right? We've read a few quotes from Ayikwe Armah, okay? We're not going to read from the Eloquence of the Scribes, a memoir on the sources and resources of African literature, okay? That's where, we got the title for this particular episode. But we actually want to read it from his prodigious work, another prodigious work of his, 2000 Seasons, okay? A book that we know that Raggo is familiar with because as I was editing this and I was listening to what Raggo was saying, what we was going back and forth, it made me think of Ayikwe Armah's 2000 Seasons. So I'm going to read some quotes from 2000 Seasons right now. How infinitely stupefying the person of the single, unconnected viewpoint, station of the cutoff vision. How deathly the separation of faculties, the separation of people. The single agent's action is waste motion. The single agent's freedom, useless liberty. Such individual action can find no sense until there is again that higher connectedness that links each agent to the group. Then the single person is no cut-off thing, but an extension of the living group. The single will, but a piece of the group's active will. Each mind a part of a larger common mind. Then each eye inspires itself with visions springing from group need. The ear is open to sounds beneficial to the listening group. The limbs move and the hands act in unbroken connection with the group. All right, that was Ayikwe Ama's 2000 Seasons. That's page 213. Got one more quote from there. All right, now let me set this up because this is a novel. This is also a very hard book to find now. Luckily, I was able to procure a lot of copies. You know, that's what we always tell you here on Conscientization 101. If, you know, people like us who are truly independent, we're not sitting up here saying we're not funded by somebody. We're not the latest Sally Struthers creation in the form of quote unquote black business and stuff like that. When, you know, you look around and you're giving to the starving African. Now, instead of giving to the starving African in Africa, you give to the starving Negro who has a business, right? What the hell is that? And here it is. It's one Negro with a business, like we said before. And then here's the thing. You know, the reason why, you know, legitimate capitalists, the capitalist pigs say like, okay, well, you can give us your daughter, you can give us all the city land, give us all these kickbacks and all this stuff because we bring in jobs. Let me ask you this. How many have y'all seen this black business initiative that's been pushed by like Amazon and all these other corporate types, right? How many jobs are they providing? They don't even talk about that. You're just supposed to like support black business like you were supposed to give to Sally Struthers in the 80s when you see a starving child in Africa. You'd be like, oh, them kids are starving in Africa. And then you'd be like, didn't you say cousin so-and-so at the church was hungry? No, that's different. We're talking Africans. Right. Okay, let me get back to Ayikwe Amar. So let me set this up. This is a cat who is digressing against the group, like we said. Okay, so let me just go ahead and read this. This is page 294. What we told him was this. In his going, he had made it absolutely clear his personal happiness was greater in his mind than the group's continuation in our chosen work. As long as he supposed there was something still left for him in the old life at Anoa, he knew no care for the group. For him then, the group was merely a thing to be used in pursuit of his individual happiness. Now, I want that to resonate and sit on your mind, especially when we go into this conversation with our dear brother Raggo Zulu Rebel, who sussed this stuff out too. I also want you to think about all this propaganda you seeing, like I just said, with these one Negroes. They using the name black, the national emotions of black, the national, that bent up latent national yearnings that we have as African people around the world. They're using that and they're purporting the individual. The individual. So we're supposed to conflate, like I said before, we're supposed to conflate an individual with the group. Meanwhile, the group is still fucked off. Okay? That's what they want you to do. Raggo's gonna talk about this, but there's another thing I want to bring up. I just finished the book. Big surprise, I just finished the book, right? It's called Black and Gold, Tycoons, Revolutionaries, and Apartheid by Anthony Sampson. Okay. I want to say this. It's a very good book, very informative of what was going on. It was published in 87. Copyright on here is 87. Okay? It's talking about the quote-unquote apartheid struggle in South Africa. Azani, notice how I said quote-unquote, because the struggle was never about apartheid. You see, that's how they're shaping our struggle now. It's always been about national liberation and sovereignty, but now it's about black business and, having a black business and you going back, as Garvey said it, and I agree with Garvey, entering to suicidal relationships with interracial partners. Okay, when you do that romantically, like Garvey said it, and I agree with it, you're engaging in a suicidal process of the race. Now, like I just said, you might say, me as an individual, they love me. We talking about the group. We talking about the group, okay? We ain't talking about you as an individual. You will sacrifice, you will use the group to forge your individual personal ambitions. And guess the thing about this book I'm about to read from, okay? They never have a problem with supporting the individual. It's the group they got a problem with. I'm gonna read here from a quote in here real quick. Anthony Sampson's Black and Gold, Tycoons, Revolutionaries, and Apartheid. Okay, here we go. Page 230, 231. Just real small, I'm not gonna go the whole page. Here we go. Rupert and Duplessis, like most other Afrikaner businessmen, and President Botha himself, put much of their hope on the emergence of a black middle class of small businessmen or professionals to counter the radicalism of the ANC and provide a bridge with the black world. Sound familiar what they're doing now? Does it sound familiar? Now, I said Botha, Prime Minister Botha of Tanzania, okay? Y'all should look up Prime Minister Botha. See some of the nice, cute things he said about African people. And he wants to promote a black middle class. He wants to work with them because, as Botha said, we don't want it to go to a revolutionary thing. We don't want this revolt to go to a revolutionary thing. Let me set up the context. In 1986, it's always the masses of our people, the poor people, not these Negroes who can set up meetings on TV and stuff, but the poor. And there were some radical elements inside the ANC, okay? Not everybody was Tybo and Becky, okay? So you had the masses rose up in 86 and said, you know what? Between Charlottesville, Soweto, all this shit, y'all ain't doing, we tired of this shit. They revolt. That's what, isn't this familiar? Well, didn't it happen in 2020? When we revolt and rebel, they don't want it to turn into revolution. So they want to set the parameters. And then they'll say the parameters, where's the black middle class? Where's the Negroes we taught in Christ? Church and God in Christ. Botha said this. Now, let me tell you what Botha said. Botha said in 86. He said, this uprising, talking about the black masses, will bring out the beast in us. Now, they was already shooting little kids. They was already like mutilating our children and Tanzania. And he said this uprising is gonna bring out the beast in us. And of course, his counterparts, Ronald Reagan and Margaret Thatcher, they loved him. They didn't want to do any sanctions. They believed in the policy of constructive engagement. The song Beast of No Nations from Fela Kuti was partly inspired by that quote from Botha who said, this uprising will bring out the beast in us. And what did Botha say? Well, to counter this, we want black businessmen. We want black middle class. Isn't that what we having right now? Now, I want to bring all that together because what I'm basically saying is what we're going to talk about in this part 2 is always remember they trying to break up the group and hold up the individual as if it's synonymous, like I said, with the group, just like authority is synonymous with knowledge. But like Paulo said, when you seek as your vocation, your ontological vocation is humanization. You can see through this shit. You can see that this ain't no Marcus Garvey self-reliance. This is neo-colonialism. Botha said, man, we need a black Negroes we can control. You go to these stores, these white stores, you ain't got no, there's no black distributors, no black production, and no black retail. All you got is black consumers. And mostly it's in the white store and the white people feel good. And again, the Negroes that say black business, they look like, when I was born in 78. It remind me of Sally Struthers when they showed a bloated belly African child saying, feed him, Sally Struthers. Now it's, oh, look, it's a Negro who can smile. Look at him, he got a business. Now, if you try to get a job, you don't know where to call these Negroes at, okay? They're using this strategy that they've used, but because we're divorced from our history and don't study, because that's what they don't want you to do. Because I heard Muda Baruka say this. He said, inspiration, when you seek to struggle and you only use inspiration without information leads to superstition. And that's how we struggling out here. We need to be inspired. We need that inspiration, but you also need information. And no, don't be confused when they hold up they done train these Negroes in school. They got their phone number and stuff like that. And every time without fail, you can look at Mississippi. You can look at all over the world. You can look when our people hit them streets in Azania, when we tore up the system, they go to find the Negroes they train in their school to say, we don't want nobody to get hurt. Now everybody else done got their head chopped off and stuff like that. We don't want no violence. But it's the violence that stopped the goddamn violence. Let me put it to you like this. When you read this book, Black and Gold, if you can find it, because I got a used copy, right? But I'll put it up when I find it. We put it in the library. What you'll understand is this. Black folks dying around the world, okay? I just read something a couple days ago, actually yesterday from this recording. This is February 17th. Sorry, it's February 17th? I can't, okay. I read it yesterday. There was an African brother in Brazil, okay? He was working, and they called him a refugee he was from the Congo. So the cracker didn't pay him his money. So he went to inquire to the cracker. He said, Cracker. He probably didn't say cracker, but that's what I would. Cracker, you ain't paid me in 2 days. I need my money. He probably said, Sir, I need my money. The white man said, I ain't paying you nothing, and started yelling at him. So they got into a little argument. He then took like a bat and hit him upside the head, tied him up, and then beat him to death. Okay? This happened here, so y'all, we have to understand this happens to us worldwide. That's what I'm trying to let you know. Worldwide. So I don't want to hear about, that's why I'm saying you got to understand the continuity of how we struggle. Because people say, oh, Black Lives Matter. Like, you got to understand, I'm going to run over here and run over here. You can't get out this struggle. It's all over. It's all over. We getting it like this all over. Okay? So I wanted to throw that out there because I was saying about how that happened to that brother. And then when and relating that to the book, Black and Gold. Well, black people dying, the stock prices didn't fall. Nothing happened. When, we get shot and all this stuff happens to us around the world, they say, oh, the economy's great. It's only when we say enough is enough and we righteously rebel, then the markets start going haywire. Okay? The point I'm making is this. Our death is normal in this economy. When we refuse to die and stand up and fight, that's when the stock market starts to crash. Do you understand what I'm saying? Our death is normal. It's normalized. It's functional for the society to go. Only when we say enough is enough, that's when they say, where's the black middle class? Do you make the correlation? Because when we rose up, that's when everything in business and shit went haywire, and they start calling in the big multinationals, throw up black business, Target, black this, black that, black this, black excellence, black Negro with a white woman, I love it, black dog, black this. Okay? Confusion, breaky them bones. Think about this. So you act like, they love this ain't gonna happen. No, it's normal for us to die. The stock prices, the whole international economy runs on when we say no more. That's when so they'll tell you this. Oh, why can't you protest peacefully? You know what that means? Make sure commerce still flows. Because when we die, ain't nothing getting, the stock market's still gonna close and everything it's gonna be all right. But when we say fuck that shit, that's when you see, oh God, markets are so unstable right now. I want you to think about all this. I want you to think about all this now as we go into Raggo Zulu Rebel Emeritus. The Eloquence of a Scribe, Part 2, right now.
Now we're going to talk about your latest album, Necromancy, get a little bit more into that. And we hear many topics throughout this album, such as economic development, your reflections on the impressions you've made on people and vice versa, and your intentions for the future. So, we've had our own little discussions about what you meant and what you were trying to convey and our own interpretation, but we want to know, in your own words, what is the overall theme of this album?
And before I'm sorry, not to cut you, Raggo. I'm going to go ahead and do this right quick. I'm not going to read I got some other notes for this, but I want to just give the track listing to the listening audience. It's 15 tracks. One is the intro. We kind of mentioned that in the other question. The second one is Elevator Music. He has a video for that done by Global Faction. Great video. I actually watched that this morning. The third one is First Stone. And the fourth track is Lonely People featuring Ideal, formerly Iron Ideal. Man, they rapping real fast on that one. I'm going to go into that track. I like that one. I like all of them. But y'all was rapping fast. I can't even imitate that one. So I had to write down what it was about. I'm sorry. Y'all had too much skills. Now, then you got number 5 is Mac and Cheese. Has a video for that as well. Number 6 is Think of Me. And 7 is Spotlight. When I went together, I got the spotlight, but now that I'm a man, all I do is rock that mic. Okay, anyway. And number 8 is Big Woman Ting. 9 is Money Have a Make. Okay. And number 10 is The Science Skit. Number 11 is No Time Soon. And 12 is Fast Track. Okay. Fast Track. That beat on there, Victory is the Last Lap. 13 is Dead Flowers with Asabi Howell. That is, oh man, I love that one. And 14, Respect Due. And 15 is Farewell, Only Son of Michelle. Okay, never worked retail. All right, now, now I wanted to mention that, there's 2 guest appearances. It's Iron Ideal and Asabi. And Mac Cheese and Elevator Music has videos for it. Now, Raggo, I just want to let the listening audience be aware of that. Now, please explain this phenomenal work.
Yeah, you said it a bit earlier. They're only going to love you when you're dead. That was it. Like, we live in a society where that your value. Jadakiss said it. He said something about free your best rapper in the ocean, but it's all right though because dead rappers get better promotion. We don't value people. Like, whether we back to what we were saying about being a scene or being a culture and being an industry. Industry only values commodity. Do you know what I mean? And your value goes up when there's no longer going to be any more of them being produced. So we've seen it with the Biggie and the Tupacs. Do you know what I mean? Like, or the Bob Marleys. Once they can kind of control your image and remix you and stick you on things with other people, that's when they love you in the music content. But even in life, you got friends, aunties, uncles. That a lot of us lost family last year, and we didn't value them in the same way until they all went. Do you know what I mean? So it's a human thing as well, I suppose. So it's just kind of recognizing that, and then once you know it, like you guys were saying, know better, do better. So I think the album was just a cry to make people recognize after going through 2020, take time and value the people you care about and have love for. Like, I look at that Nipsey Hussle thing. I knew of Nipsey before, but I didn't see people showing him love in the way that the whole scene just kind of took him on and was like, oh, he's so great, and he's prophetic, and he's Ethiopian, and he's related to Haile Selassie, and all the rest of this. They weren't talking that when he was still here. They weren't talking it. So, it's for us to turn around and, okay, we recognize this is a pattern that's happening. So let's give people their flowers while they can smell them, as people seem to be saying these days. And not on a cheesy one or on a humble one, but just valuing people and appreciating the contribution that they add to our lives while they can acknowledge it. Whether it be on a world scale, whether it be on a local scale, whether it be even in your own home. You know what I mean? Like James and Zari, you're showing each other you love each other. And whatever level that is, or however you interpret that art, is to recognize that, give value to things. Man. Don't wait till the flower's dead before you smell it and then it's too late.
Yeah, man. And I wanted to go over some of the tracks right now. I'm making sure I'm looking at the recorder so it doesn't drop out because I had to write some of the tracks. The first track I want to talk about is a track you got a video for, Elevator Music. I wrote down one of the lyrics. It's like this is my part I like right here. Zari's looking at me. Here I go. We all come from a real estate where everybody rent ain't got no real estate. A place where you can't trust your real best mate. That's why we elevated to a fearless state. Oh,
yeah.
And to me, it sounds like on that track, that's the first track. The first track is the intro, but the first music track is that. And what it sounds like in there, that the theme of that song is you want to talk about some big man ting. You know what I'm saying? Not just, fucking off your money. It's like grown man type stuff in that. That's why it's called elevator music. So, I mean, am I correct? What's up with that?
You was absolutely correct. And even that, like you said about elevator is when you're going up to someone. When we're talking about, we were talking earlier about death, we're ascending beyond that because we're dealing with our legacy. We're going beyond the flesh and we're dealing with, and when I say spiritual, not just the ghosts and duppies, but the unseen and things that are more than our own physical ability, like influence, like how we relate to things, like how you feel something. You know, like when something happens in a room and you and another person see it and then you kind of connect on that. It's that beyond, I'm not dragging you, but I'm showing you. Or back to the action that we said when you start running and people respond. It's that kind of thing. And then it's not even elevator music, it's elevator music. Because you see that music, that's kind of how they got music nowadays. Remember like when you go to that test, you go to a supermarket and or you ever watch Beverly Hills Cop?
Yes.
And they've got that and Eddie Murphy and the white cop with the kind of like Jewish hair, like the mullet look, yeah. And I think it's like the Show of Love. I can't remember what the song's called, but that kind of is. Oftentimes, music is now in the background, but it's selling us mantras, and it's subconsciously programming us. It's not necessarily in your face or in the forefront, but that's the psychology which a lot of modern music makes. See, like once upon a time, it was all about the lyrics. Now it's just about the sonic production and the end result and the feeling. But with that, though, we don't listen to the lyrics, and then we're getting programmed with, I'm going to put my blood in my trainers, or whatever kind of mad psyches that these people are bringing. Do you know what I mean? So I guess I tried to reverse psychology the thing and give them some music to kick back in the background, but I said some stuff. I kind of gave up the secret. I said too much maybe in the song for it to be music. But that's the kind of psychology I was playing with when I created it. It's the mantras that you're going to hear as you elevate and as you go up, and as we go from boyhood to manhood to godhood or to our higher self, you're going to need a soundtrack. You're going to need a mantra, words, power, and sound. So it's like you said, to that fearless state is back to what we were talking about of not worrying about death. When they've got us worried about death or worrying about economic death or not being broke or not fitting in or whatever, they can control us. But when we when we ascend beyond that, like I said, the next line in the song, we need the FU money.
Yeah, I like that because to me it was like I need to be comfortable and and not just be no capitalist, but when I'm comfortable, I can say, man, fuck you, money. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, whatever you're offering me, I'm cool.
I'm cool.
Good.
Exactly.
I'm Gucci, as these young people would say. Yeah.
Yeah. That's why I took that perfectly from that. It's like, you can't buy me, partner. I got my money, so fuck you. I got that one right there.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
You're up and coming, and how come you're not blinging and having all kind of crazy diamonds and all that? I guess you're here to get your money right, huh?
All the time, and all that is cool for the image and all that, but all that is liability. You feel me? I'd rather invest in real estate. You know what I'm saying?
Wait, can you repeat that again, man? You're up and coming artist. What did you say you want to do?
I said invest in some assets.
Lord. The fool and his money soon part. To talk too much ain't never too smart. While the wise ones listen wisdom, while the fool talk money talks. While the bullshit walks. And it's the same shit, London to New York. To talk on the smartphone is never too smart. Loose lips sink ships, better keep the crew sharp. Or in a fishing with the blue sharks. Some buy a car, while others choose art. Might buy a pair of new Nikes or a new Clarks. But I don't do clubs, I'd rather do parks. Fresh air exercise and give my youth a head start. Fresh juice and fruits for breakfast. Stimulate their minds ready for the next class. Economics education, only way we get past. But the last shall be first and the first shall be last. Watch everything I said come to pass. See the phoenix rise up from the underclass. Charge it home the next 100 yards at the boss. Can't feed his hungry dogs. Nyame matter house and home, all is under draws. So we can buy mumsy a yard. Sponsor the homeless and his hungry dog. Just because love is love to Bumba Clark. If there's no love, suck your dirty mum's under par. Until she get yeast infection from the start. Cause I always shown enough respect from the start. Sleep is a cousin of death. Ask Uncle Nas, Cha. Even Ricky can't run so fast. So pay attention in class, life's best things are free and for the rest I for charge. Supply and demand, cuff and book by the sarge. Caught in an act with a strap and a black balaclava. Became a street soldier, sucked by the draft. Now he's in the jail ass with a loud mouth. Surrounded by a wild pack of sharks. Urban warfare, wear Pierre camouflage. Digital age out to analog. Watch everything I said come to pass. If the phoenix rise up from the underclass, charge it home the next 100 yards. If the boss can't feed his hungry dogs, now me matter house and home all is under draws. So we can buy mumsy a yacht, sponsor the homeless and his hungry dog. Just because we all came from a real estate where everybody rent and got no real estate. A place where you can't even trust your real best mate. It's why we elevated to a fearless state. Need that fuck you money, say it from your chest. Never make it if you never save or invest. Whip and your trainers may look fresh, but like J. Rue the damager, you're playing yourself. Watch everything I said come to pass. See the phoenix rise up from the underclass. Charge it home the next 100 yards. If the boss can't feed the underclass. Taras.
Trick off my money on supply business like diamonds. You know what I'm saying? Cars that lose value, drive them off the lot.
So you're trying to get land.
Exactly. A real asset. Take care of my people, because you know it look good, but at the end of the day, you losing value. I mean, it ain't appreciating. It's depreciating.
Yeah, so I want to go to the next track that I the lyrics just kind of, all the lyrics struck me, and I had an editor here who had to edit me, so I only got, so I probably went too far than she wanted me to, but I got some tracks. But
you compromised. Yeah, you compromised.
Yeah, we compromised. So I want to talk about the track first, Stone. Okay. So the lyrics I wrote down was, okay, here I go. This shit was hard. Okay, but I practiced. Be warned, pure jokers in the deck. Only young for a minute, will be old in just a sec. Hold my composure when they show me no respect. Not many make it unscathed with no regrets. Burning frankincense and myrrh, keeping my instincts sharp and my intentions pure.
I didn't know you practiced that one.
I might have a job. It's a good job I'm retiring.
You can pass it to him.
Wait, but let's go. Let's pick that apart. Let's pick that apart.
Like Bruce Leroy. You the new Bruce Leroy.
Man, think about that shit. When I heard that, I said, man, that is so true. Like, I mean, somebody who, got in his 40s and you like, you thinking you young for a long time, but you only young for a minute. You gonna get older in just
most of your life is not young.
Yeah, that shit was like, and then you start seeing people behind you. It's like this boy Raggo saying some stuff. And then one of the things you really said, I want brothers to really understand this one that you said in there, is the fact that we colonize and we like, man, we can't take no shit. Man, we all gonna get played and we ain't gonna leave this bitch unscathed. So don't feel bad that if something crazy happened and you feel like, man, I should have whooped that mother or did, why did that happen to me? That's gonna happen. Like I like how you said you're not gonna leave unscathed with no regrets. You know what I'm saying? But you did say be vigilant by saying keep your instincts sharp and my intentions pure. That means be righteous, but always be vigilant. But don't worry, brother. You're going to go through it, but that's a part of life. Go ahead. Speak on that song. Only cast the first stone.
You see, when we was talking about spiritual earlier, and I'm saying, I'm not trying to talk about no spook, but those are see what I said about the unseen? Those are things that, see what I said, like when they're in a room with someone and we both see something and not everyone in the room sees it, but we both acknowledge it. It's the unseen. But those are the unseen things I'm talking about. Like, Rakim had a lyric and he said something, I could take a daily word. I can take a word rarely heard, flip it, and that's a daily word, yeah? And our thing as musicians or as artists, as lyricists, is to capture this life experience and to say the unsaid, things that you've only ever felt, but you've never even been able to articulate. Our job is to articulate those things so you can build on them and kind of turn around and utilize it or apply that knowledge. Now you're aware of it, not just something you felt, now you're aware, you can go about and work with that. You know what I mean? So with this, back to what I was thinking about mortality and thinking about how we're here, and I tried to put more of those aspects in it. Like once upon a time, I don't know, you might have tried to put the best punchlines in, or you might have tried to have the nicest flow, or you might have tried to. I don't really try to do any of that stuff anymore. I just try to capture things which aren't being said or hasn't been said. So because there's 10,000 MCs everywhere in the world saying something about something. Bless them all, yeah. But I don't know. I see certain things my way. Only me looks through these eyes. So it's for me to put down these things that I see. We don't always able to articulate it, but once I get round to it, I share that, and ones like yourself might relate. A lot of people don't because they're not looking at deep, or not even deep, but they're just not looking at that. But those are the things I've seen. So, share that.
Yeah, and man, that was a phenomenal observation of life. That's what I'm saying. The Vanguard embraced people's consciousness to this type of reality, because this is what I'm saying about life, And
especially when they try to get you to blame yourself for everything and self-help and when things happen to people, they think that it just happened to them. And then they start to blame themselves, and then that's how people get
Negative
on drugs and
suicides.
Yeah, and then this whole personal responsibility thing, as opposed to looking at structures, that can drive you to things or not present certain opportunities, and they tell you, oh, well, it's all your fault. You should have worked harder. Well, no, it's not, because there's a structure in place,
The barriers set in front of my way.
Yeah, so like you said, you're not going to get out unscathed. You just have to, it's better to understand the system so that you can make better decisions. But even then, somebody's going to try to steal your money.
And then, on the unscathed and on the no regrets thing, see, when we're talking about the Brule or these systems, or even when you're pledging or whatever the case may be, enough of these people that we're looking at as these moral, these social and cultural leaders or whatever, what have they sacrificed to get into these positions? Do you know what I mean? Like, what have they done to the couch, the little couch and a big exec couch in a little room that James was talking about earlier? Do you know what I mean? And then even that sometimes, all right, so when we get into that Ogun energy earlier where we chuck them off, they're a sellout. Oftentimes people go through the experience and learn from it. Look at the whole Dave Chappelle thing. I don't put anyone on a pedestal, but I remember Dave Chappelle was banging on the whole wearing the dressing, and then I thought, hang on a second. One of my favorite films when I was a kid was Robin Hood, Men in Tights.
Oh, yeah.
And
he had the tights on.
Wearing the dress. More than that, they had him in the dress. They had him, but that's how we knew. He learned from that experience, being a young person, and it opened his eyes up to then, now I've got a bigger platform, and I don't necessarily have to bow to you. I've got my FU money. I can turn around and talk certain things. So when I was young, I was in the theatre. Part of the reason why I left the theatre. And they had a play. There are two plays on. One was called The Boys, and it was a modern day thing of the boys, Syracuse or something like this, some kind of Shakespearean type thing or whatever. But they had urbanized the thing and put us all in hoodies and tracksuits and dance routines and all the stuff that appealed to my young 15-year-old mind or 14-year-old mind. And there was rapping. There was only 2 or 3 rapping roles, and I wasn't subjected. I did my friend, my guy I was in a rap group with, he was older than me. He got the role, kind of thing. So, I was heartbroken. And then they put me in the other play called The Devil in Drag. Yeah. Now at the time, I didn't think much of it. I didn't pay any mind. Whatever it was. It was a remake of Midsummer Night's Scream. You know what I mean? And so they've got fawns, and like fawns of like the Capricorn, the Baphomet kind of man, the man that is half man, half goat or something like this or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
In the end, we all had an opportunity to go and do the photo shoot or whatever. We all took photos. They used my image on the front cover of this play, Devil in Drag. I had my first little, they weren't natties, but like little tiny bumps, little twist things on my head. They photoshopped it in, gave me horns, and used me as the image. They had the Pope, they had this person, that person, and used me as the image of the devil. Yeah.
Damn.
Wow.
Now, only when I got older, I came back to it, because there was many devils. I was part of the congregation of these devils in this play. But they used my image on the front cover. Now, normally within the theatre, they use me as the troubled rude boy character who has a crisis in conscience and comes out and becomes better. That normally means something will happen and I end up snitching on my boys and doing what the audience think is the right thing. But it always conflicted me, because if he's a rude boy, if he's a bad man, yeah, then his character wouldn't true to his character to stick to that and to be true. But no, at some point he always snitches and the audience are always like, great, this is so emotional and touching. But it conflicted me. So this was a new role, and I was just part of the chorus of these devils who popped up every now and again with a song. We ran around in tights doing whatever the case may be. But this is at 14. After when I saw the play and I said, rare, they've got man as the devil in drag. Like, what the fuck? Oh, wow. Excuse my French. But yeah, I was like, and as I got older, I continued that. And I even said it on sellout on God MC.
Yeah, on God MC. I heard that one. I heard that when you talked about that.
I had to address it. I didn't want no one pulling out my card on me later on down the line, like, Raggo Zulu Rebel, what about this, you devil in drag? Like, yeah, I had to claim it. But I learned from that experience, and part of that is why I left the theatre, because they always want you to play their roles in order to get to play the roles you want to. Whereas as a musician, I could kind of have my own persona and come from my own place and perspective, like you said, a well-rounded perspective of who Jamal Jones Thomas is and his worldviews, which are sometimes with poetic license, but that's what Raggo Zulu Rebel became. And a big part of it was about being so true to myself, because they already tried to get me to sell out. And for nothing, just to get a clap from my mum and my grandma or whoever came to see it. There was no gold in it. Do you know what I mean? It was just that we wanted to perform. And so this is how I know about this whole thing through my own experience. It wasn't a major experience. They didn't offer me £1 million. But from young, I clocked the play and was like, all right, you sneaky. I see you. Cool.
I know what you mean too, and sometimes you don't learn till later when you start to understand more things, because when I was in high school, I was in the band, and we used to have to do a thing called UIL, and I played clarinet, so I had to do a solo of this. It was called Le Petit Negro or something like that.
Le Petit Nuer.
Yes, and I was like, and then so me and James were looking at like old stuff we had put up in the attic, and I was like, oh yeah, I remember having to play this, and we were like,
you playing the small nigga anthem.
Yeah, and we were like, but this says Little Negro
to white people now,
and it's almost like a kind of a soft shoe song. It's like that's how I go.
Oh shit!
Yeah, it's like a soft shoe song straight up. And then I was thinking, wow, why did my band directors let me play this? You know what I mean? Like,
to an audience filled of white people.
Yeah, because it's called UIL. It's like a whole little.
Yeah, I didn't
it's a formal kind of process to get whatever recognition. So
from white folks.
Why.
Right.
That's why.
Yes.
That's why.
And I was like, why did he let us play this? Like, yeah, and so now when I got older, I was like, wow. So I was just there as like this, I was 15 at the time, this 15-year-old child playing soft shoe to white people, and I didn't think anything of it. They were clapping, yeah. And I mean, in the whole process of being in the band too, because we were, I don't know, like drumline, like in the South, it was a black band, put it that way, okay? So we did the dance routine, we would break down, we would play Scarface and stuff like that. But really, when I think about
Mary,
right, stuff like that, and we would have fun doing it. But when I think about it, because we were in a white school district, we were the only black school in a white school district. We were really just performing for white people. Like, the white people would love it, and it's like,
but then we
just become like these monkeys dancing for y'all. You know what I mean?
Because our service, the football thing, you see the thing in England recently, yeah? It showed, you see the World Cup or whatever it was, or the European Cup, and then England was killing it. They ain't won nothing since 1966, and they were killing it, but the people that was killing it was 3 black boys. One, Raheem Sterling, who's Jamaican migrant, and the press in Britain normally are always massacring him. He's got a tattoo of an M16 on his foot, because his foot is his strap. He busts off his foot. When he kicks the ball, bullet, yeah? But they're saying he's invoking gang culture and all. But they've been crucifying these guys for months, weeks, and days in their professional career. Yeah? They start playing for England, and they're our boys, our champions, our heroes. But that is our only existence. To exist is to entertain or make their lives better through some way, shape, or form. We don't have our own existence. We don't have our own right to be. Yeah. And so that whole the small Negro, the little nigger anthem that they had you playing, was the elders sacrificing you up as a pureblood.
Yeah.
That's right.
It's ritual, yeah. Sacrificing you as a pureblood to that system or on an altar, same as Isaac went to sacrifice Ishmael or whatever the case may be. It's that same ritualistic mentality, yeah. And what was the point I was going to make? Ritual. Excuse me. Small blood. And back to like I said about the vampires. It's a cultural thing. It's a cultural thing, and it's what they've tried to indoctrinate us with. And then see how you was having a good time with your peers. There's certain things that we just do. We make music, we create. It was a cultural enjoyment. But in order for you to have that freedom to use these instruments and use these tools, at some point we have to pay the piper.
That's right. Yep. That's what goes back to the first question in terms of like, they're going to use their imposition. This is all political. People say they don't want to get political. Hey, man.
Every transaction is political.
Everything. The fact that you can make a transaction is political. The fact that I got a toilet that can flush is political. You know what I'm saying? We got to understand that. And that's exactly, first stone. That's the first stone.
Yeah. Only the one without sin can cast the first stone. And they alone. Chant these psalms I'm on for I put on my gums. Cut every night my life, cut the lock off and gone. Try all the coach, keep calm. From where I'm sitting, watch the streets go on. Lying in the grass, we rise and meet dawn. Strategize, plan a side for each pawn. Be warned, pure jokers in the deck. Only young for a minute, we'll be owning just a sec. Hold my composure when they show me no respect. Not many make it unscathed with no regrets. Burning frankincense and myrrh, keep my instinct sharp and my intentions pure. And cast the first stone. I walk past, cold, no one went home. Heard you got murdered, the killers weren't known. Mumsy tried to tell your son, leave the life alone. Soulfully, painting pictures with the poetry. And if it don't resonate, I take it to a lower key. For all the ones we've lost, gone too soon at the crossroads and crossed. Friends come and friends go, and enemies drive by in the bend slow. Head, shoulders, knees, then 10 toes. Didn't wanna see our bones left for the Jan Crows. Seen lovers and friends on the street lights, seen the muggers and the drug dens. Who am I to judge anybody's problems? Only he without sin is permitted to condemn. And cast the first stone, I walk past, cool, but no one went home. Heard you got murdered, but the killers weren't known. Mumsy tried to tell his son, leave the life alone. Soulfully, painting pictures with this poetry. And if it don't resonate, I take it to a lower key. For all the ones we've lost, gone too soon at the crossroads and crossed. For all the ones we've lost, yo, at the crossroads and crossed, yeah. For all the ones we've lost, gone too soon, miss you so much, yo. For all the ones we've lost, let me get a soul, for all the ones we've lost, can I get a soul clap?
Now I'm going to get to the next track that I really love. And now I couldn't write down lyrics to this one. Only lyric I can sing because you kind of slowed down, Raggo. You said, Home Alone, Macaulay Culkin. That's then y'all, you and
now
I,
grown.
Now, yeah, there you go. And then him and I Deal starts the track. They just be going fast, but the track you all is called Lonely People. And it's a deep track, and I want to read my notes on this listener audience. You got to understand this is a deep track. Okay. So it's a track where he breaks down, him and I did a breakdown social alienation brought on about by social media and the pandemic and how it's affecting the masses. And I had to say, it reminds me of Guy Du Bois. He's a French, he was a French philosopher. If the book is actually on, this book is called Society of the Spectacle. He predicted this Instagram stuff because it's actually on Conscientization 101 library. Everybody should read it. But I wanted to just kind of read about the book because Raggo and Ideal are breaking down the same thing Du Bois talked about in this 1967 published book, Society of the Spectacle. Du Bois, that's his name, Guy Du Bois, traces the development of a modern society in which authentic social life, that means real life, authentic social life has been replaced with its representation. All that, and this is a quote, direct quote from the book, all that was once directly lived, that means you macking to a girl, you doing your thing, you hanging out, all that was once directly lived has become mere representation, end quote. Du Bois argues that the history of social life, that means real life, can be understood as the decline of being, that means just living, the decline of being, I'm just me, I'm here, into having, that's that capitalist shit, into having, and having into merely appearing. Now, you ain't even got to have the shit no more. You just got to appear to have it. This is what happens in late stage capitalism, according to Du Bois. This condition, according to Du Bois, is the, quote, historical moment at which the commodity, that means these tennis shoes and all this other shit, completes its colonization of social life. That means you are controlled by these commodities. And so he says the spectacle is the inverted image. That means it's inverted, backwards image of society in which relations between commodities, that's things, have supplanted. That means having relations with shoes, computers, iPhones have supplanted relationships between people, in which, quote, passive identification with the spectacle supplants genuine activity. That means just looking at these commodities and people relating to them, by looking at it passively, that supplants genuine activity. That means going to hang out with Raggo as opposed to just looking at a picture of Raggo. That's some freaky shit. Okay.
Yeah, but see what we said. Sorry, just to interject. See what we saying about the Tupac thing and the Bob Marley thing. It's easier to control a person's image than it is to control a person.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
That's
yes.
it.
Yes.
That's it.
Yeah.
And then they can turn around and sue you for creative this and that. And so it's just about control. It's about control. And like, all right, let me go on.
Okay, I got a little more. And then he says,
that's cool.
Okay. And then he says, after I said it's the passive identification with the spectacle supplants genuine activity. And then another quote, the spectacle is not a collection of images, Du Bois writes. Quote, rather, it is a social relation among people mediated by images. That means your relations with people is mediated by these images. And this book was published in 1967. And like I said, sorry I couldn't perform the lyrics because y'all was going too fast in that one. But still, that's pretty much where I want to leave it. And here's the point I'm making. I want everybody to unpack what I just said, and then I want you to unpack that Raggo Zulu Rebel and I and Ideal break down this with brevity, clarity, and a level of caring to where you can understand this, the man on the street. Like I said, that vanguard, if you know more, you got more responsibility. So that's what they're talking about in this song. I can't do the song. By the album, I can't do it. But that's what they're talking about. Get God, Du Bois, the Society's a Spectacle. They broke it down and talked about how people are lonely and alienated. Why is it called lonely people? Because these people walk around looking all happy and look at me and I got all these friends. Man, if you got all them friends, you're going to be hanging with the friends. You ain't going to be on this guy. I ain't taking no goddamn pictures. But go ahead, Raggo. Talk.
That guy is the boy, for real. For real. I'm just dropping science. But yeah. I feel like, back to what I said to you about the movie Inception, reality itself is a dream. It's a perception. It's something in your mind. You know what I mean? We don't know what beyond our own physical experience, yeah? So then they're creating these alternate realities or these other worlds. Dreams are inside of a dream. And if you don't have that material, that one thing to connect you back to your core, your center, like they got the spinning top in the movie and you touch the spinning top and then you remember, and then you come back awake in your own reality. But enough people ain't got them, and then they're gone inside of a dream, inside of a dream, inside of a dream, like an app inside of an app, inside of an app, inside your phone, yeah? And they can't never wake up. Like, it was all a dream. They're lost. They're lost by, like you said, controlled by these images. Back to what we were saying earlier about being, you said something about being on a plantation all around the world, in different patches of the plantation. What was I going to say? These thoughts are inside of thoughts inside of thoughts. It's getting deep. I have to come back out. You had said something earlier which really kind of, but yeah, it's illusions. It's just illusions, smoke and mirrors. And they want us wrapped up more in their smoke and mirrors because they're controllable, like I said, with the images. Like George Floyd and that whole showing us these images of being, see, like when we commit violent acts against each other, back to like the domestic husband does. It's re-irritating through these imagery that you can't do as nothing. You ain't gonna do nothing.
Yeah.
Debo. Yeah. What you gonna do, punk? What you gonna do? That's my back, punk. Like, it's that kind of, they show it and it's, Black Lives Matter, and we cry for it or whatever. But the reality is, either you're gonna stop it or you ain't. That's it.
It's a form of psychological warfare, yes, because it's psychic violence, because they show the image repeatedly conditioning you. And then they say, I just want to add this because I'm going to quote a BLA, former BLA member, Daruba Ben Wahad, because he brought this to my attention. He has a book, but he said something that is very important in relation to George Floyd. Then they called George Floyd a hero. George Floyd a hero. Now, this is no disrespect to George Floyd. You see, your heroes are the people that get their face smashed into the curb and they have no political consciousness. George Floyd was a victim of this capitalist, racist, colonial system, but he was not a hero. A hero is somebody like Assata Shakur who is politically conscious and they go down for the people, like George Jackson was. That is not to diminish what happened to him, but now they're not telling you that Assata Shakur, who's in exile in Cuba, is a hero. They're telling you by showing you repeatedly over. You know how you become an African hero? You know how you become a hero? Let somebody kill you. But when you take that gun against the state, organize the underground, then guess what? You are a terrorist. But heroes, and we can get with the heroes that get killed and slaughtered and then say, you can give me justice. Like Daruba Ben Wahad said, justice is something that's meant for the living. You can't give George Floyd justice. He's dead. Yep. He's dead. All right. I'm okay.
You see the hero thing? Back to Heru. Heru turned around and avenged his father's death. You know what I mean? And that's the original hero. Man was avenging shit and chopping shit up. What? Yeah? I'm riding for my father. This is something to gangbang for my lineage. Yeah? For something worth. But what they've done is tied it into the Jesus thing more, which is the blood sacrifice of I was killed for your sin.
Yep.
And so they're tying it into that psychology of the Messiah thing where I'm going to wait for a police officer. I'm going to wait for a big brother. I'm going to wait for the government. I'm going to wait for a Messiah coming back after 2,000 years of getting my ass whooped to come and save me.
Yeah.
And then even if when you go and check the psychology of eras, of how we're projected into the psyche of the modern era, is of this BLM thing. Black Lives Matter. Value me. Please value me. Value my life.
Yep.
How are you going to value me for killing me? You don't value me. That's okay. That's on you. It's for me to value myself enough to say, back off me. Or to do something to back you off me. But I come from an era of black power.
That's black right. I don't come from an era of black influence. You know what? Who used to influence me, Raggo? I will admit, in our early 20s, I used to go to strip clubs. Young women when I was a young man, used to influence me to try to give them the dollars. I want black power. I don't want black strip teasing. Okay. You guys are seeking black strip teasing. We need black power. So you want to dance naked on the devil? That's your issue. Not me and mine. Fuck that.
So even that alone, just those two cries, which are reflections of the thinking of the time or the thinking that they're trying to put on the time, says a lot. Do you know what I mean? That black power was the people, I don't know, UP and them and they're uniting and governing the police. That black power is respecting them and doing gang or forever family or coming and kind of us operating together to influence the decisions that are made around our life or how we're treated.
That's right. That's right.
Utilizing what we have to get what we want as opposed to crying or begging.
Oh,
you know
God,
I mean? But that's where they want us, though, isn't it?
Yes.
Yep.
That's a dream that they set up for us to live within, and it's up to whether or not people wake up from that dream or operate within that dream. And if you have a lot of people are only waking up into that dream of BLM. A lot of people are young and seeing that, and they're like, okay, yeah, I'm going to do something. I'm going to go to this march. Which is cool because they will meet other like-minded people who either want to explore further or want to dig deeper. It's like Puff Daddy to rap. I listened to some Puff Daddy. Then after that, I was like, oh, this is deep. Let me listen to some Wu-Tang. This is really deep. Do you know what I mean? So some people will stay in the shiny suit. Some people will dig deeper and then they'll get to some, I don't know, some X-Clan or something or some, whoever the case may be. Do you know what I mean? Or go back to some, I don't know, Ice Cube, America's most, whatever. Like, they will continue to dig. It's just on the level of person and what their agenda is and what they're about. You know?
Yeah.
But yeah, and we'll not be doing no striptease.
Yeah. And that just goes back to like you said, they're posting, because there's some lonely people and, people are going back and trying to like find connections. And I'm like you said, they might go to the march, but shit, they might just like try to just get as much, start a hashtag and shit like that.
Yeah, a lot of people do. But a lot of people are, from what I hear from the different, people who talk about it, a lot of people are trying to, organize,
This is how I look. This is how I look at it. I think all the theory and action has been put out there. I think people should study. We really need to study our history because I don't understand how it became BLM, became Black Lives Matter when that's Black Liberation Movement. I don't understand how y'all can't understand. Yeah, and I'm being rhetorical here because Black Lives Matter is sponsored by the Ford Foundation, a foundation that's known for co-opting the black movement from here to Lagos. Okay, Ford Foundation, Soros. This ain't no goddamn when y'all want to dismiss truths, conspiracy theories when y'all don't read shit.
If you can't beat them, join them.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So what
and
they've
control
done is where they
control it.
All right. So what they've done is that, and you see, like for example, whereas we wanted our story to be told, so we etched it in the walls of the pyramids and all these places, and we built these shrines and these things which have lasted the test of time. The new shrine on the new walls is the internet, and internet is about algorithm and numbers. Anything that has more numbers is going to shadow something else. So where they understand these things, all they're doing is trying to. You see these memes. I'm going to tell my kids that. I saw a meme saying about Jake Paul, and it was saying, I'm going to tell my kids this is Muhammad Ali, and then someone was like, this is how Jesus got whitewashed, or something like this, or whatever. But those are the facts. All you got to do is say it enough, and it becomes a normalized something. You know what I mean? It becomes a standard. So if they turn around and make their thing bigger than whatever it was before, or more in this time, getting more recognition, more likes, more streams, more whatever, before you know it, Eminem will be Rakim.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be a hard one though.
they done it with what's it the Rolling Stones and Chuck Berry and them, man. They're in Muddy Waters. So
well, yeah, that's true.
They're in the pyramids right now, restoring the Egyptology and coming back later and later every time, like it's a cake soap Michael Jackson vibes cartel stuff.
That's true.
Yeah, man, and it's also one of the things, and I'm going to move on to the next track, but this is why y'all need to listen to The Lonely People, and you can only do that if you purchase Necromancy, which we'll be linking to. But this reminds me of like people and images and not understanding and just getting that Instagram knowledge and stuff like that. You know, people saying, "Oh, I'm going to go back to Africa." Africa don't need your bougie ass over there. If your ass can't make it where you from and organize the Africans there, how the hell you gonna go over there? All you gonna do is, I'm gonna tell y'all this. People want to go to Africa because they want to be, the Negroes want to act like they white in Africa. That's what it is. Because they want to be they want to be kings and queens. Let me tell you something. I behead kings and queens. I am an African working class brother. There ain't no king and queen. We all gonna be fighting this enemy, and we all got to do this, share this development. Okay, because I don't have no royal subjects.
They ain't got no sovereignty over themselves. They can't even control their own
exactly.
They want to govern others. And on the king thing, a king, a leader, a president, really and truthfully, that is a heights of service to your people. But whereas in
our cultural context,
thing, we get the ring and it turns us foolish because we're going to get some guns for the ring, or we're going to get some gunpowder, or we're going to get some silk or some kind of trinket.
Mm-hmm.
These people want to be King Edward and King Elizabeth and all that shit.
Well, everybody's a king and a queen, you know.
Once you can govern that, on that level, and even recently I stopped calling people kings and more I call them kingly, because it's about the behavior, how you conduct yourself and how we're moving. Just the same way as when I talk to women nowadays, everything is sis, because it reminds me of what way to deal with this woman, And if you're not operating sisterly, then maybe I'm going to stop calling you sister. So I'm going to try to call for that to operate within that space and remind you that we are kindred. Do you know what I mean? But if you can't operate within that, then I'll stop giving you that title. But it's evoking something within a person. But like I said, it's more about the behavior than the title. People can operate kingly. You don't have to be a king to operate kingly. Do you know what I mean? You're just operating at a high order of status or a level of that commands respect and that commands people to follow what you're dealing with, or governance, or I'm appealing to that aspect within a one. But if I don't see that behavior to match it, I can't continue to call you that. Huh?
That makes perfect sense. All I'm saying is what I do is, and I agree with you 1,000,000,000%. But
no, see, when they're not acting kingly, then Ogun, bring out the axe, man.
Yeah,
because they get beheaded. That's what happens.
Yeah, and the thing is, my thing is, right now, the people that's using that term, right? They using it as a term to say I'm better than and want subjects until they can get indoctrinated to the level of understanding. And yes, I did say indoctrinated. You indoctrinated in Western civilization. You have to be indoctrinated into African centeredness. Everything is teaching indoctrination.
Conscientized.
There you go. It is not a bad word, and propaganda just means to propagate. Okay, but my point is, what was I saying? Oh yeah, so you saying it, and I agree with you saying it. You know, agreeing because we have a certain level. But if to say that on the street, they gonna put it in the context in which they learned it, in which they learned it was a monarchy type context of a Western monarchy, and where the hell is my subjects? Because they don't have that level of knowledge that you have. That's why I don't use it. But like you said, you use it kingly. Break it down to them because they're going to be like, oh, yeah, I'm kingly. Get on your knees. Women, get behind me and shit. I done seen it before because just here comes what you I learned this from you. Here come the whole tempest. Murderer. No, you got to watch that shit, man. They good to that. They don't know nothing about the Berlin Conference. They don't know nothing about neo-colonialism. They don't know nothing about those borders on Africa. They don't even know where slavery started in the Western Hemisphere, and that slavery was started by the Portuguese, period. But they know we are the whole tempest.
They got a and they got a dashiki.
Yeah, they don't know about structural adjustment.
They don't know about the structure. They don't know about the IMF. If you don't know about how you gonna not know about the IMF? That's the international motherfucker. Okay,
they've seen Malcolm X and they've seen Amistad and they're good to go.
Oh yeah, and now I'm black. I know everything.
Give us free,
right?
I'm black, y'all. I'm black, y'all.
I'm black and I'm black, y'all.
All
right, we go next, and that's
real quick before you move on the lonely people thing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
See you say about unity is strength. All right. So a lot of these, what we would recognize as gangs or clans, even before the time of gangs, come out of family. There'd be a family and the family would have, I don't know, 4 or 5 brothers. Them 4 or 5 brothers, especially if you're not necessarily in the higher echelons of society, you ain't got funds and income, they're going to find ways in the world to feed themselves, which sometimes may border on illegal law, things that are outside the borders of law. Yeah. But that gives them a certain fearlessness. The warrior class are out there in a group doing it, so they get a certain level of notoriety. So in the English culture, you've got people like the Crays and all them kind of bad man. It's always a family something. And then a couple of their friends will join on, and it develops into being a force to be reckoned with, yeah? Now, what they're doing now, we already know the attack on, especially the black family, the family and period, yeah? What they're doing now is isolating ones and ones from even seeing. We saw this in the thing where you couldn't even go and see your neighbor, you couldn't even go and see your mum, you couldn't even go and see them, whatever, is that you come out of that human connection of your family and the people that are around you, and it's now your direct relationship with the screen or this machine of this dream of a reality of these commodities or these pictures or these images, but you're easier to attack. You're easier to, like when I was a kid, we had football hooliganism. We had the Yardie gangland culture. We had all these different cultures and fraternities or whatever, but people that were operating as a unit. You couldn't really mess with those people, yeah? Now, there isn't that essence. And that's how they can turn around and push a thing over the whole entire world to dominate and get people to do jump, how high? Yes, sir. Yes, master. Yeah? Under this thing, because we don't have that sense of family. We don't have that sense of, and even if you do have a family, you've got 5 or 6 brothers through, I don't know, the housing system and these things or whatever. Your mum and your mum don't chat to that one and that one don't chat to that. So you don't even know your brothers. You see them in the street, walk past them and stab them. You know what I mean? And that's the thing of the lonely people and the isolation thing where you're disconnected from ones on ones, even your own family. So how are you going to fight the system? Or how are you going to fight the state? The most trusted people to you, you don't know them or you don't even trust them. You know? So that was also a bit of the background on that and how I've seen things and times change. You know what I mean? Like where we come from the era of football hooliganism, badmanism, all these things. That was just the warrior class expressing themselves within this modern society, but they've kind of dociled out the man them. And now the man can't even protect our own family. You know? That's why they're trying to, I don't know, joke our babies with experimental drugs.
Social media. You know we're going to. Do you like the things that life is showing you? Where you going to? Do you know where you're going? Do you like the sats life you're showing? Picture me rolling down the highway and my life's so golden. People pre me and I don't even know them. You rely on the timeline, keep scrolling. People pre you and you don't even know them. Just keep scrolling. Social media, so folk can sit at home on the sofa pre-ya. Had many friends but don't like them neither. As a kid in the 90s, last my cheeser. Today, the cyber haters who subscribe just to dislike your status. From anywhere in the world, via the handheld apparatus. And in the cyber police, freedom of speech, but prefer you don't speak. So we use emojis, symbol logos, hieroglyphs, return no extinct like dodos. Amongst ads and all the promo, dark pics incriminating photos. On the World Wide Web, worldwide surveying what's inside our heads. So, do you know where you're going? Do you like the sights life is showing? Picture me rolling upon the highway, and my life's so golden. People pre me and I don't even know them. Either lie on the timeline, keep scrolling. People pre you and you don't even know them. Just keep scrolling. I know what you did last summer. If you decide social media at the last supper, live feed, Romans wouldn't need them to discover lights and love hearts while they watch Christ suffer. Everyone's a photographer or a philosopher. Listen, mate, piss off and take your blog with ya. Video model or choreographer, but I swear half of them are just all catfishers. On the internet, woven to catch a spirit or your intellect. Show you what you was thinking for you think of it. Out of sync with instincts, but in sync with it. 2 followers and think they're famous. Hall of Famers, I think they made it. In the bedroom on YouTube, I think they're crazy. Safest where they are, the industry's too shady. Do you know where you're going? Do you like the sights life is showing? Picture me rolling down the highway, and my life looks golden. People pre me and I don't even know them. Either lie on the timeline, keep scrolling. People pre you when you don't even know them. Just keep scrolling. Times are shallow and hollow if we're committing suicide over likes and follows. Tweet like the beaks of sparrows snap. I live stream all our personal sorrows. Celebrated all our holidays and victories. Documented all our own histories. See me rolling through the timeline, picture me. Fire already is my mind playing tricks on me. Pages through the book of faces. Memory lane, look back when we was teenagers. When we peak, rock, reminisce. Maybe Tinder is more your ting or plenty of fish. Nowadays it's how they date and make relations. We don't exchange numbers when we went raving. Observing human behavior to imitate and serve it up as human nature. Do you know where you're going? Do you like the sights life is showing? Picture me rolling down the timeline and my life looks golden. People pre me and I don't even know them. Evil lie on my timeline, keep scrolling. People pre you and you don't even know them. Just keep scrolling.
Yes. So moving on to the next track. You got a video for this one. I didn't do the lyrics for this one. I just know it's on some grown man things. Mac cheese. And it's talking about the responsibility of adulthood. To me, I got out of familyhood because, like, I do know this lyric. I don't give me no bad bees. Where were they when I was on my blackness? I can meet a mac and cheese. Well, okay, the video. It's like you're in the street. He's in the streets and it's like high energy.
Are you on the high street?
You on the high?
Video?
It's called high street. Yeah, he's on the high street. He's in.
That's the market. That's Walthamstow Market.
Okay, say that again. Where's it at?
Walthamstow Market. So when I was a kid,
so you're gonna take us there when we get there. Good.
Of course, but if they're still here, because there's not many markets left, because the big businesses buy up all your Tesco's and all these people. So a lot of these markets are suffering or closing, or people don't necessarily shop at the market, because even like when I was a kid, you go to the market, you might even go to a supermarket, but you go for certain particular things because it's prices. Then when you want cultural things, you might want yam, you might want okra, you might want plantain, you might want pumpkin, or you might want certain things, you might want ackee, certain things which the mainstream aren't going to occupy. According to the demographic of the area, is they will start to supply those things and undercutting the price of the little man that's selling it. So the little man can't really necessarily afford to sell that stuff again, which is good because you might get things a bit cheaper, but then it's bought on a mass scale. The things might not be as fresh, or you know what I mean, it's all a bit weird. But yeah, the market man is suffering because it's small business, isn't it? It's a small independent business, man.
So is that what the track is kind of about? Kind of like all that.
Yeah, and that's just even the background of just our history and the context of the place that we're coming. Like when I'm a kid, I go market with my grandma and you squeeze things, you pick things up, you squeeze them. Is it fresh? Is it try one of these, love? That kind of essence. And now you just go and buy it in a plastic, or you order it to your door. You know, from the big businessman.
Okay, so let me get this. So just like you were saying, you don't need no fake woman. Let me do the correlation. You need a real woman, right? Mm-hmm. You don't want that fake food. You want that real food. You want the mac cheese. Mm-hmm. There you know.
Yeah, exactly that. And even that as well. You see where we had the rice and peas before?
Yes,
so,
I do.
Rice and peas is a theme. It's identify. I try to do a lot of things like which people can identify, but without being preachy. So if you relate, great. And if you don't, it's not the end of the world. There may be other aspects you relate with it. Yeah. So that's me identifying with my Caribbean culture. Back to when I said about certain labels. There's certain labels I can identify with and work with, or common ground I can build with people on. Because anywhere I go within the African world, you will have people eating rice and beans. That's all it is. It's kidney bean, or it's a black eyed pea, or it's protein and carbohydrate. You know what I mean? It's food that will stretch and feed the masses. Yeah.
Right.
But as now we've got our basics, that is the basics to fill us up. That man's got a bit of the side. I can live a bit more in luxury, but that's because I'm also look at how I've changed how I'm relating. I'm not chasing a bad beat. If I was chasing a bad beat or throwing money in the club or whatever, I wouldn't necessarily have the room because I'm working with my wife in order for a two income household. We can now afford some of that luxury, but without banging on and saying, guys, go out there and get married. Or I'm not advocating anyone to do anything. This is just what I did and it worked. You know what I mean? So now I've turned around and I'm working with a good woman rather than chasing as many women as I can that aren't really attainable or maintainable. So I might have a little short-term something, but it's not going to last. We can't build a nation on short-term one-night stands. You know what I mean? It's family that, back to what I was saying about the clans and the gangs, it's family that build. And even when you go check the Kennedys and all them where they're bootleggers or whatever, it's family. It's family that's the core to this. The nations are built on family. So having that family meal, having that Sunday dinner, those are things that I keep on repeating as subconscious themes. Sunday dinner is the time we all come around and break bread together. Do you know what I mean? So it's those things that, it's not necessarily screaming from the headlines, but these are the subtitles or the sub-content which I'm trying to push onto my listener for them to pick up on and bring these essences back. These are things that made my childhood good. Back to that some people would do their Santa Claus. These are the other essences which I can bring through, which now that I've grown and I know better, I might want to leave Santa Claus behind, but Sunday dinner can still come through.
Yes, yes.
In these streets hunting for the mac and cheese. Lie down with dog and I might catch fleas. Give me a good woman, I don't need no bad bees. Cause they never loved me when I never had peas. Where were they when I was on my ashy black knees? So when I get to food, I eat it with the family. When Sunday come, I wanted rice and peas. But now I leveled up, I got the mac and cheese. Now I leveled up, I got the mac and cheese. When Sunday come, I wanted rice and peas. So when I get to food, I eat it with the family. But now I leveled up, I got the mac and cheese. The whole world is mine for as the eye can see. When there's nothing in the pantry, I switch to plan B. Just trying to be all I can be. So I need some soul food and not no eye candy. Back in the day, could just about afford a Big Mac. She didn't wanna know, she wanna go to Rib Shack. I didn't have the abs then, nor a six-pack. And anytime I text her, she never texts back. Busy in the streets looking mac and cheese. Lie down with dog when I might catch fleas. Give me a good woman, I don't need no bad bees. They never loved me when I never had peas. Where were they when I was on my ashy black knees? So when I get to food, I eat it with the family. When Sunday come, I wanted rice and peas. But now I leveled up, I got the mac and cheese. I don't trust a man if he don't eat. And if I'm out full, fam, I beg you don't speak. When my belly full, next thing for go sleep. Left over in the fridge for the lunch the whole week. Sweet potatoes and roast buds. Tell your son if she can't cook, she's no good. I stick close to my close ones, and before the pot's done, no, we feed the old hood. In the streets hunting for the mac and cheese. Lie down with dog and you might catch fleas. Give me a good woman, I don't need no bad bees. Cause they never loved me when I never had peas. Where were they when I was on my ashy black knees? So when I get to food, I eat it with the family. When Sunday come, I wanted rice and peas. But now I leveled up, I got the mac and cheese. They don't wait, but I always say grace before I break bread and bless the whole place. Then clean off the whole plate. When I finish off, clean off my teeth with Colgate. and a cold glass of sarsaparilla, or peanut punch with a splash of the vanilla. I don't even need to ask her what's for dinner. If it's microchips, then I might not forgive her. In the streets, hunted for the mac and cheese. Lie down with dog when I might catch fleas. Give me a good woman, I don't want a bad bees. Cause they never loved me when I never had peas. Where were they when I was on my ashy black knees? So when I get the food, I eat it with my family. When Sunday come, I wanted rice and peas. But now we leveled up, we got the mac and cheese. I don't want a pot noodle. If you can't cook, look it up on Google. Peanut stew and a hot pot of fufu. Every Sunday dinner, business as usual. I want a pot noodle. If you can't cook, look it up on Google. You can't feed foolishness to Raggo Zulu. What do you?
All right. This is where we got to leave it for now, but not to fret. If you want to finish listening to Raggo Zulu Rebel Emeritus, The Eloquence of a Scribe, Part 2, in its entirety, all you have to do is go to our store. There you will have access not only to this particular interview, but to all of C101's unabridged interviews, musical commentaries, and merchandise. And most importantly, you will be supporting 100% independent media. Now, all right, you know the podcast was just the tip of the iceberg. Those excerpts that you just heard from Raggo Zulu Rebel Emeritus, The Eloquence of a Scribe Part 2, you know what I'm saying? They were just a tip of the iceberg. So you definitely want to get the unabridged version of this so you can listen to everything. Because in addition to what you just heard, we continue our delve into Raggo's album, Necromancy, which leads us into an even deeper exposition of topics, okay? In addition, we talk about Raggo's future after music and much, much more. So like we said, you want to finish listening to Raggo Zulu Rebel Emeritus, The Eloquence of a Scribe Part 2, the link to this unabridged interview is in our show notes, so pick that up now. Now, this episode has featured music from Raggo Zulu Rebel, Garden of Africa, Fela Kuti, Confusion Break Bones, from his album, Underground System. Raggo Zulu Rebel, the tracks were Elevator Music, First Stone, and Mac Cheese from his album, Necromancy. And guess who else we heard music from? Again, Raggo Zulu Rebel. The tracks were Where You Going and On the Wall from his album, The Chronicles of Jah Messenger. We want to thank Raggo Zulu Rebel for taking his time to dialogue with us about his eruditious, fructuous, and Imhotepian musical career. I got it right this time, see? And for more info on Raggo, check out his social media and affiliated websites. Twitter, at Raggo Zulu Rebel. Instagram, at Raggo Zulu Rebel. And at Raggo Zulu Nation. Facebook, Raggo Zulu Rebel. Website is www.raggozulurebel.com and www.raggozulunation.com. Bandcamp, do a search for Raggo Zulu Rebel. Amazon, do a search for Raggo Zulu Rebel. And on SoundCloud, do a search for, you guessed it, Raggo Zulu Rebel. Links for music featured in this episode are available in our show notes. Links for social media and affiliated websites, all the searches included for Raggo Zulu Rebel, are also available in our show notes. And finally, we might just sneak in a song not mentioned. So guess where you might want to go if you hear something on this episode. You're like, oh, he didn't mention it on the podcast. Where should I look for that? Where do you think you should look, listening audience? Where do you think you should look? That's right, in our show notes. Now, don't forget, when you visit us at conscientization101.com or c101magazine.com, sign up to our mailing list for exclusive information and downloads. Hit up our store, like we said before. We want you to support 100% independent media. Also, don't forget to check us out on Twitter at Conscien1. That's CONSCIEN, the number 1. On Facebook at Conscientization 101. And Instagram at C101 Editors. And also, you can hit us up on email. Yeah. At editors@c101magazine.com. That is EDITORS at C101magazine.com. All right. As we contemplate a future without Raggo Zulu Rebel producing music, it came to Zari and my attention that we are definitely doomed to live. But we don't fret, because our dear brother Raggo Zulu Rebel has produced 3.75 billion tracks for us. So while we may be doomed to live without him producing any more music, he has left enough music for generations to come. He has kept all of his music to behold integrity befitting of African people. We salute you, Raggo Zulu Rebel. And we know, just like we said before, what is it that you have in store for the future? Well, if you get the Unabridged interview, you can listen to that and you can figure that out. But I digress. As we contemplate what our dear brother Raggo Zulu Rebel, as he transitions to his name, Jamal Jones Thomas, what does he have for us available in the future? Well, the best predictor of future behavior and future work is to look at someone's past. And when we do that, when I think about that, when Zari and myself think about that, we are not doomed to live. We are indeed graced by the ancestors that we are living. Because if his catalog of his work is any way to predict what he's going to do in the future, then we know Jamal Jones Thomas. We know what he's going to produce, and we know what he's going to do for humanity, for our people. You want to know why? Because, as Raggo Zulu Rebel says it himself, the writing is on the wall. Thank you, Raggo. We salute you, my brother. Peace.
Hey, first and foremost, yo, believe, NASA, see or no, listen. Writings on the wall, read that. Clear as crystal, no feedback. After all, please believe that. After all, please believe that. Writings on the wall, read that. Born alone, we don't need that. After all, please believe that. After all, please believe that. Believe that. Believe that. After all, please believe that. After all, please believe that. Believe that. Believe that. After all, please believe that. After all, yo, writings on the wall, pre that. Real rap here, if you need a recap. Like when you head a pack and you never get a peek back. Pap, pap, pap in your kneecap. Best to relax, bare ease back. Can't never take man for the E-gap. With the dons in the south and the east that. One's locked down in the mind, never reach back. GCSEs, exam degrees. Locked down inside in the resap. Outside qualified by the white and the B-cats. Guess that's life for the street rats. Leave rehab and they relax in the first 15 minutes when the C-raps. ODs and they don't even feel bad. Got a real rap there if you need a recap. Writings on the wall, read that. Clear as crystal, no feedback. After all, please believe that. After all, please believe that. Writings on the wall, read that. Born alone, I don't need that. After all, please believe that. After all, please believe that. Believe that. Believe that. After all, please believe that. After all, please believe that. Believe that. Believe that. After all, please believe that. After all, yo, writings on the wall, read before the council come clean. All blindfolded, ain't seen unless it's posted. Live stream, live from Hollywood in a white limousine. Shook now on the right, on the left, Billie Jean. Offering codeine and ketamine. Asked Rumsey, I replied. Writings on the wall, read it before the council come clean it. Brainwashed and ain't seen it unless it's titties and bikinis. I don't want one wish from the genie. I don't wanna be no star on the TV. Just wanna be me, but I feel tired inside and dreary. Writings on the wall, read that. Clear as crystal, no feedback. After all, please believe that. After all, please believe that. Writings on the wall, read that. Born alone, I don't need that. After all, please believe that. After all, please believe that. Believe that. Believe that. After all, please believe that. After all, please believe that. Believe that. Believe that. After all, please believe that. Believe that. After all, please believe that. Believe that. Believe that. Believe that.